What connection did Hitler have to this Babe Ruth baseball card? Let's dive in and see. Before watching this video, if you would please like and subscribe to my channel, I sure would appreciate it. Now, on to today's lesson. The other day, my friend Enrique came over and we did a deal. Part of that deal had to do with my T206 Wagner quest, my journey to trade my way to a T206 Honest Wagner. You can follow my progress at t206wagner.com. One of the cards Enrique brought over is quite possibly Babe Ruth's most underrated and undervalued card ever, with quite possibly the most interesting story ever. The most famous cards of Babe Ruth are from 1933 Goudey. 4 different Ruths are in the set, and any collector would be lucky to own any of them in any condition. While you've probably heard of Goudey, you may not have even heard of this one before. A beautiful card that actually predates his Goudey offerings. Introducing the 1932 Cinella Babe Ruth. The front features gorgeous artwork of the Bambino, no doubt having hit one of his 714 home runs. Let's see what the back says. Never mind. As you can see, it's written in German. I ran a translate program on the back, and here's what it says. Apparently Cinella is Finnish for dictate. The top says King on the blow? Not sure what that means. Based upon the text on the back, it should come as no surprise that it was produced in Germany during a very dark period of time with perhaps sinister implications. While the Nazi Party was fringe in years prior, by 1932 it was the largest political party in the Reichstag. In January of the following year, Adolf Hitler was named Chancellor of Germany. It appears as though the following month, the back of the 1932 Cinella Babe Ruth card talks about a sort of redemption date for an album or missing cards. The Ruth is actually part of a 112 card set, which was to be put in an album. It was almost propagandized nationalistic material. The citizens of Germany must have felt proud to own one, and if they didn't own one, they'd probably do what they could to get their hands on a copy. There are a significant number of German athletes and figures represented in the album, and it was produced just a few years prior to the infamous 1936 Berlin Olympics. It may very well have been used to push the Olympic Games. The inside cover of the album itself appears to show it as having been published in Berlin. Now, Berlin was actually voted to host the 1936 Olympics in 1931 before the Nazi Party came to power in Germany. In spite of proposed boycotts, Hitler wanted the world to see his country as benign and progressive, while also putting Nazi propaganda on display on the biggest stage possible. Speaking of the 36 Olympics, it's absolutely chilling to see footage of Nazi flags flying and Hitler being welcomed as if everything was okay. It's a reminder that while it's a part of history, it really didn't happen all that long ago.
Kommen und muss sagen, den Frieden wollen wir. Aber
A few short years later, during the spring and summer of 1942, a steady stream of reports were being received by Allied leaders about what was happening to Jewish citizens at the hands of the Nazis. Aside from a statement of condemnation, various websites report that the Roosevelt administration had no intention of doing anything in response. As quickly as the news of these evil atrocities had been revealed, it began to fade away from the public eye. I'd like to think that everyone out there watching this would have spoken up. If it's one thing we've learned, especially in today's day and age, is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's far too easy for atrocities that happen abroad to fade away as myth or cautionary tale. But when that happens, sometimes the very things we ignore make landfall in our very own backyard. By the way, the scary thing is the Nazi agenda seemed to grow like a cancer. In fact, in 1939, more than 20,000 people attended a pro-Hitler rally at the Madison Square Garden in New York. At the same time, Hitler was finishing the construction of his 6th concentration camp. Months later, the Nazi army invaded Poland, starting the bloodiest war in history. So, as this is a baseball card channel, it does beg the question, did Hitler have the Sinella set? Most notably the Babe Ruth card? And did he have anything to do with the creation of it? Maybe, maybe not, but that's not where the story ends for the Sultan of the SWAT. Determined to not let this slide into oblivion, Dorothy Thompson, the first American journalist to be banished from Germany, wanted to make sure that evil occurrences remained front and center on America's radar, and Babe Ruth would help. At the end of December 1942, a full-page ad was run in several major newspapers called "The Christmas Declaration by Men and Women of German Descent." It condemned the Nazis' actions and urged the overthrow of the German government. Attached to this were the names of 50 prominent people who signed in support of the movement. Out of those 50 names, no one was bigger than the one and only Babe Ruth. Many likely wanted it to just go away, as it wasn't an American problem, but Ruth speaking up helped keep it in the public eye. This wasn't the first time Ruth stood up either. In fact, in Bonsai Babe Ruth, Robert K. Fitz talks about the 1934 baseball tour of Japan headed by Babe Ruth. The primary goal was to use baseball to prevent a potential war. Still, I can't help but wonder if Hitler himself had the 1932 Sinella Babe Ruth. Did it feel like a symbol of Nazi devotion from the Colossus of Clout? How did it feel when the Babe stood up against him? While Ruth had many flaws in real life, it proved him to have heroic moments both on and off the field. So that's the story I'm reminded of when I see the 1932 Sinella Babe Ruth card. If you're itching to have an authentic Babe Ruth card from his playing days, with perhaps the most interesting story ever, then 1932 Sinella just might fit the bill. Thanks for watching.